In this video, we'll be discussing all the different types of help you can get to help pay for your childcare fees, whether that be to pay for your nursery, childminder, or other registered childcare provision. A quick intro of myself is I run a nursery in London and have done so for over 8 years, and I teach people how to open their own nursery via the courses which you can see on the screen, as well as giving consultations to support this. I also have a new children's book coming soon, helping children to better understand their emotions, focusing on anxiety. For more information on all of this, do check the description. But back to what we're here for. I will be going through the different help you can get to pay for your childcare in a second. But first, it's important to find out whether the childcare provider that you want can actually accept your payments. In order to get support of paying for your childcare fees, you can get help paying for childcare if it's provided by an approved provider. Approved providers include registered childminders, nannies, play schemes, nurseries, or clubs who are registered with Ofsted. To be registered, it means they are registered with Ofsted, the Care Inspectorate, or the Health and Social Services Board for your country. Childminders or nannies may be registered with a childminder agency or childcare agency. It includes registered schools or home care workers working for a registered home care agency. You can check whether the provider you want to use or are using is an approved provider by going on any of the relevant bodies' websites for your country, whether that be Ofsted, the Care Inspectorate, or your local early years team register. So do check to make sure that your provider can actually accept the funding that we will be going through in this video. The different types of help you can get to help pay for childcare include the following. I'll quickly list what they are, then go into detail about how you can apply for it and how much you can get afterwards. So if you just want to skip ahead to a specific type of funding and learn more about that, you can check the timings in the description to do so. The different types of funding to help with the cost of childcare we will discuss in this video are free government funding. This includes funding for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, tax-free childcare, tax credits for childcare, universal credit for childcare, and support whilst you study. I will start by explaining the free government funding hours, what it is, where you can get it, and who can claim it, and also how much you can get. Firstly, we'll start off with the simplest one, which is labelled 15 hours free funding for 3-year-olds. Anyone whose child is between 3 and 5 can claim these hours, though how you use these hours is dependent on the nursery or childcare that you choose. You can start claiming these hours the term after your child turns 3. So if your child is born between September and December, you can start claiming in January. Born January to March, you can claim from April, and April to August, you can start claiming your hours from September. In order to claim these hours, you simply have to fill a form in at your childcare provider, who then claim the cost for these hours back from their local council. The childcare provider you can use these hours at include nurseries, childminders, nannies, and any other registered childcare provider. Each 3-year-old is entitled to 570 hours per year, but as this is claimed by the childcare provider, they decide how this is spread out throughout the year, and it would not be possible to use more than the childcare provider will claim per week. And also, you won't be able to roll over hours to other weeks. So as the childcare provider decides how you use them, some choose to stretch their hours over the whole year. So even though the funding is advertised as 15 hours per week, this is only if you're claiming over 38 weeks per year, like in a preschool. Other childcare providers will stretch their offerings, providing 11 hours over 51 weeks, as another example. This is the most common, as this is generally what childminders and nurseries do. So do make sure you check with the childcare provider you want to use about how you can use these hours. This is something I find most parents find confusing, as most nurseries or childminders stretch their funding. So most places that you try to access your funding, you won't be able to get the 15 hours as expected. Instead, you will get 11 hours. But over the year, it works out at roughly the same, as 11 hours over 51 weeks is roughly the same as 15 hours over 38 weeks. With the funded hours, you should be able to choose to use just your funding hours, which providing that there is space with the provider. Or you can use it to reduce the fees that you pay if you want to do more than just the 15 hours. With this type of funding, you should be able to use this without paying any additional fees. So the childcare provider should not force you to pay for things like food, and should, for example, allow you to bring your own. Again, you do not need to apply for this type of funding, and all 3-year-olds are entitled to it the term after their 3rd birthday. All you have to do is go to your chosen childcare provider and fill in the required forms, though the form will differ depending on what council you're in. 30 hours free childcare for 3 and 4-year-olds. Some 3-year-olds are entitled to additional funding. This is called 30 hours funding. Though as with the 15 hours, the amount you actually get per week depends on the childcare provider that you choose, though your yearly entitlement will remain the same, as explained previously. This type of funding is aimed at working parents. Again, you can start claiming these hours the term after your child turns 3, or, which is important, the term after you apply, whichever is later. So if you apply too late, you'll have to wait until the next term to actually use your additional hours. So for example, if a child turns 3 in December, but you only complete your application in January, you would have to wait until April to use your additional hours, though you will still be able to use your 15 hours from January. In order to be eligible for the additional hours, you will need to apply and get a code to give to the childcare provider. The application process is very simple and is usually done online through your local council's website. To qualify for the extra hours of free childcare, both parents need to be working, or if in a single parent household, the single parent must be working. They must permanently live in England, earn at least £152 per week on average, which is equivalent to 16 hours per week at the national minimum wage, and earn less than £100,000 per year. This covers a lot of families. However, most parents are not aware of how easy it is to apply and how much they could save. With most childcare providers, this entitles you to at least 2-3 full days of childcare per week. Again, as with the 15 hours, with these additional funding hours, you can choose just to use your funded hours, which provided there is space for the provider, they should allow you to do so. Or you can use it to reduce the fees if you wish to do more hours. You should also be able to use this without paying any additional fees, so the childcare provider should not force you to pay for things like food and should allow you to bring your own, for example. If you don't use all your hours in 1 week, you can't use them in another week. Many providers average out the hours over the year, so you'll get the equivalent of 22 hours per week, though it's important to ask your provider how they do this. The providers that are eligible to claim this type of funding include nurseries, childminders, registered nannies, and any other registered childcare. Again, to claim, you simply fill in the form at your local childcare provider, give them your code and national insurance, and they will claim the money back from the local council. The other free funding that the government offers families is the free 15 hours for 2-year-olds. This works similar to the funding mentioned previously, where usually it's stretched over 51 weeks, enabling to claim 11 hours per week, and childcare providers should allow you to use just your funded hours without having to pay any mandatory fees on top of this. Again, funding hours can't be rolled over to other weeks, and in order to get these funding hours for your 2-year-old, you need to apply online to find out whether you are eligible. This is done via local council's website. Your 2-year-old can get free childcare if you live in England and get one of the following benefits: income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, income-related employment and support allowance, universal credit, providing your household income is £15,400 a year or less after tax, child tax credits, providing your household income is £16,190 a year or less before tax, the guaranteed element of the pension credit, or the working tax credit 4-week run-on. 2-year-olds can also get childcare if they are looked after by a local authority, have a statement of special educational needs or an educational health and care plan, get a disability allowance, or have left care under an adoption order, special guardianship order, or childcare arrangements order. You may have to pay for extra costs like meals, nappies or trips, though this should be optional, and other options should be given to you if you cannot afford this, like providing your own meals and nappies. With these 3 types of funding, the 30 hours and 15 hours for 3 and 4-year-olds, and 15 hours for 2-year-olds, some providers have opted not to accept them, as the amount they get from the government to cover these hours is set by the government and is often less than the nursery would usually charge, meaning in some cases they would lose money by offering it. So do check with your provider before enrolling to ensure that they do accept them. Also, with these 3 types of funding, you do not need to access all the funding at one childcare provider. So you could, for example, split your 30 hours between 2 nurseries or between a childminder and a nanny. If you wish to leave a childcare provider, a month's notice must be given in writing to them before you can start claiming somewhere else. The free childcare differs in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, so do look up exactly how it works if you're from any of these countries. The next type of funding is tax-free childcare. This is a discount on childcare that is offered to working parents. With tax-free childcare, the government paid 20% of your childcare fees up to £2,000 per year by taking off the tax you would pay on your wages. This works out at a saving of just under £170 per month. You can get up to £4,000 per year if your child is disabled. The system has proved a little bit complicated with parents, as you have to create a childcare account, which can be done via the government website, and then pay money into the account. It's not as simple as, for example, the 15 hours or the 30 hours. The government then tops this up, which you then release to your chosen childcare provider. So for example, if your childcare costs are £750 per month, you would pay £600 into your childcare account, and the government would top this up with another £150. This would be an annual saving of £1,800 per child. You can use tax-free childcare all year round to spend on regulated childcare such as childminders, nurseries and nannies, before and after school clubs, as well as holiday clubs. In order to be eligible for this, both parents must be working, or just one in a single parent household. Both must earn at least £152 per week and under £100,000 per year. They must not be receiving tax credits, childcare vouchers or universal credits, and they must have children aged 0 to 11 or 0 to 16 if disabled. To create a childcare account, you just need to go to the government website, which I will link in the description. You may also be able to claim benefits to pay for childcare. These include tax credits and universal credits. Starting with tax credits. Tax credit for childcare is only available if you are already claiming tax credits and your circumstances haven't changed. If you are a new applicant, you will need to apply via universal credits. With tax credits, you can get up to 70% of a childcare paid for you for children under 16 or under, or 17 or under if a child is disabled. The amount you get is currently capped at £122.50 per week for one child and £210 per week for 2 or more children. You can use tax credits for childcare to help pay for registered childminders, nurseries or nannies, registered after-school clubs and play schemes, registered schools, and home care workers working for a registered home care agency. The money is paid directly to your bank account, usually after you have paid the childcare provider. You just have to provide receipts of payments. Though in some circumstances, you can ask for the money to be paid in advance. You can get up to 70% off the cost of your childcare, though the amount you actually get will depend on various factors like your income, the hours you work, and your childcare costs. The working tax credits has all but been replaced by universal credits, with all new applicants needing to apply for this instead. It is a similar system to working tax credits, whereby the money is paid directly to the parent once they have already paid the fees to the childcare provider. Therefore, you must pay the childcare up front first and provide receipts in order to get your money back. You can only claim for childcare that has taken place during your assessment period. You can use universal credits to pay for any childcare fees of children aged 16 or under 17 if they're disabled, and can be used to pay for registered childminders, nurseries and nannies, registered after-school clubs and play schemes, registered schools, and home care workers working for a registered home care agency. You can apply for help with childcare costs under universal credits if you're on a low income, no matter how many hours you work. Under universal credit, you can get back up to 85% of your costs, to a maximum of £646 per month for one child and a maximum of £1,108 per month for 2 children or more. You apply via the gov.uk website, where you will need to provide evidence of your costs. This would include a letter from your registered childcare provider, a bank statement proving you have paid your provider, and a cash payment receipt. You can make a claim for up to 3 months in advance, but you will only get the money after the childcare has been provided. You cannot claim universal credits at the same time as tax credits or tax-free childcare, though the other types of childcare can be combined. So for example, you can claim universal credits and the 30 hours funding, or you can use the 15 hours funding with tax-free childcare. This should help you to save even more of the cost of your childcare. The final type of support you can get to help pay for childcare is support whilst you study. There are 3 main types of support you can get while studying. We'll start off with Care to Learn. With Care to Learn, you can get weekly payments if you're under 20 and at school or sixth form. You can get £160 per child per week if you live outside of London, and £175 per child per week if you live in London. Care to Learn can help you with the cost of your childcare, including deposit and registration fees, a childcare taster session for up to 5 days, keeping your childcare place over the summer holidays, and taking your child to their childcare provider. Childcare payments go directly to your childcare provider, though before they can be paid, your childcare provider needs to confirm your child's attendance, and your school or college needs to confirm that you're attending your course. To qualify, your childcare provider must be one of the following: registered with Ofsted, registered with a childminder agency, or a school. They can be a childminder, preschool or playgroup, a day nursery, or out-of-school club. You must apply before your course starts or within 28 days of your course starting. Otherwise, you will only get funding once your application has been received. The other type of support you can get whilst you study is a discretionary learner support. This helps pay for childcare if you are over 20 years old and in further education. For example, if you're studying an MVQ, BTEC or BGCE. If you're age 20 or over on a further education course, and facing financial hardship, you could get this learner support, which includes support paying for childcare. If you are 19, you should apply it via Care to Learn, which was mentioned previously. You apply to your learning provider, for example your college, for the learner support. Your learning provider will decide how much you get. It depends on their scheme and your circumstances. The money can be paid direct to you, which you don't have to pay back, a loan, which you have to pay back, or paid direct to the childcare provider. As mentioned, the learning provider decides how much money is paid to you, and it depends on their scheme and what the money is for. To get learner support, you must be studying at a learning provider funded by the Education and Skills Funding Agency, so you'll need to check with your college. You can apply even if you get other types of funding, for example, professional and carer development loans or disability living allowance. You can't claim if you're getting student finance for higher education or you're on a community learning course. To apply, simply go directly to a learning provider. The third type of support you can get whilst you study is a childcare grant. This is for people who are in full-time higher education and helps to cover costs for children under 15 years old or under 17 if they have any special educational needs. The grant does not need to be paid back and is paid on top of your other student finance. You must be eligible for student finance in order to apply for the childcare grant. The amount you get will depend on your household income and the number of children who are dependent on you. You can get up to 85% of your childcare costs or a fixed maximum amount, whichever is less. The maximum you can get is up to £183.75 a week for one child or up to £315.03 a week for 2 or more children. Your grant will be paid into a childcare grant payment service account and you'll get an email telling you how to set one up. Your childcare provider will send requests of payments to the service which can approve for your account. You usually need to do this every week. The childcare provider will pay directly from the money in your account. You can only approve payments to your childcare provider once your course has started. You cannot use a childcare grant to pay for upfront costs such as deposits. Any money that's left over at the end of the academic year will be returned to Student Finance England. To qualify for a childcare grant, all of the following must apply. You must be a full-time student. Your child must be under 15 or under 17 if they have special educational needs. You must be in receipt of an undergraduate student finance based on your household income or are eligible to. You must not be getting a postgraduate loan. You must be a permanent resident in England. The children in your grant application must be financially dependent on you. Your childcare provider must be registered with Ofsted, on the Early Years Register or the General Childcare Register, so do check with your provider. If your child is cared for at home, the carer cannot be a relative and must be registered with an appropriate body, so check with Student Finance. Neither you or your partner can be claiming tax-free childcare or the childcare element of the working tax credits or universal credits, or neither you or your partner can be receiving help with childcare costs from the NHS. To apply, you do so as part of the main student finance application. So that's all the different types of help you can get to support with your childcare. Childcare can be expensive, so hopefully you have found at least one form of support to help you to reduce your childcare fees. If you want to learn more or want to apply for any of these, I have 2 links in the description, one to apply and one to learn more. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you found any of this useful and learned anything, please do hit that like button, it really helps support the channel. And if you want to learn more about childcare or wish to become a childcare provider, hit that subscribe button. I'll be posting more videos helping parents find and understand the childcare process, as well as videos helping people become a childcare provider. But the final thing before you go on to the next video, if you did want to open your own nursery in your home or in your own dedicated building, then I have various courses to help support you to do so. Just click the link in the description labelled courses to find out more. I want to thank you for watching and I wish you all the best and good luck in finding childcare. God bless, and I will see you on the next video. Does your child get anxious or nervous in new situations? Are they maybe starting a new school? Well, you can help them better understand their emotions and how to deal with them with this exciting new story. It's Evie's first day at her new school. She suddenly becomes overwhelmed by what's happening around her. That is until something magical happens that helps her escape her feelings. However, she soon learns she can't run away from her emotions and has to learn how to deal with them. She will need your help to do so. Click the link in the description to help her manage her super emotions and find out more about this new book.